Did you know that 70% of people admit to staying in jobs, relationships, or situations they don't love, not because they don't want something better, but because they're afraid to make a change? Think about that. Most people aren't stuck because they lack options. They're stuck because fear is calling the shots. So let me ask you, what decisions have you been avoiding because fear keeps whispering? What if it doesn't work? If that question just hit home, then you're definitely in the right place. Today, we're tackling the fear that's been holding you back, and more importantly, how to finally break through it. Hey there. Welcome to my Success Coach podcast. I'm Brian Robinson. I'm your host here to help you gain clarity, take focused action, and grow both personally and professionally. If you've ever felt like fear is paralyzing your progress, today's episode is for you. We're diving into how to break free from that fear, how to shift your mindset, and move forward with confidence. This episode is for you if you've ever felt like you're overthinking your next move and it's keeping you stuck. Yep, that's been me. Or if you know that you know what you want, but fear of failure or fear of judgment just keeps stopping you. Yeah, that was me too. Or if you're constantly planning but struggling to take action, yeah, been there too. By the end of this episode, you'll understand why fear keeps you stuck. You'll learn how to reframe fear into motivation, and you'll have a simple, actionable step that you can take today to build momentum. So I found this Japanese proverb that goes like this: fear is only as deep as the mind allows. Fear isn't just about external circumstances, it's about the meaning that we give those circumstances. The truth is, fear will always be there when we're stepping into something new. But the key is learning how to move through it rather than letting it stop you. So let's go ahead and jump into point number one, which is identify the fear that's holding you back. The first step is to get clear on what you're actually afraid of. Most of the time, we assume that it's the fear of failure, but if we dig deeper, it could be a few different types of fears. It could be the fear of looking foolish, or the fear of disappointing someone, or the fear that you're just not good enough, right? Any of those relate to you? Some of those related to me for sure. So here's some actionable steps that you can take right now to help you with this. Step number one is to take a moment to write down what's really stopping you. What's the worst case scenario that you're afraid of? Number two is then challenge that fear. Ask yourself, if this happened, what could I do to recover? Then three, more often than not, you'll realize that the worst case scenario isn't as bad as your mind makes it out to be. So here's some coaching questions and journaling prompts for you. What's one fear that has been holding you back from taking action? What's the real risk, and what's just an imagined fear that you have related to this? Once you've identified what's really holding you back, the next step is learning how to shift your mindset. Because here's the thing, fear isn't the enemy. I know, right? Fear actually isn't the enemy. The real challenge is how we respond to it. So let's talk about how to reframe fear to motivation and start using this to your advantage. Which brings me to point number two, reframe fear into motivation. Fear doesn't mean stop. It actually means you're on the edge of growth. If you've ever felt nerves before a big moment, whether it was a presentation or a new business move or making an important decision, that's just your body telling you that this matters. So instead of seeing fear as a stop sign, try reframing it as a sign that you're actually on the right path. You're onto something that matters to you. So here's some actionable steps to help you with this. Number one is the next time fear creeps in, say, this means I'm growing. Number two, write down 3 past situations where you were afraid but took action anyways. And how did it turn out? I actually use this when I'm coaching a lot of my clients when we get to a place where there seems to be an obstacle. And what I do is I go back and bring up something, a point in time that we've discussed that they actually had something similar and they got through it. And we just pull on those strengths that they use to get through that. So this one really does work. Number 3, Remind yourself that courage isn't about not feeling fear, it's about taking action despite of fear. So here's some coaching questions, journaling prompts for you. How would your life change if you stopped letting fear control your decisions? What's one small action you can take today, even while feeling afraid? Now that you know fear can actually be a signal for growth rather than a stop sign, it's time to turn that mindset shift into action. Because at the end of the day, confidence doesn't come from thinking about change, it comes from taking small steps forward. So let's talk about exactly how to do that starting today. Which brings me to point number three: take one small step forward. Action is the antidote to fear. The longer you wait, the bigger fear grows. But when you take even one small step, you gain momentum. I know this all sounds great in theory, but I also know how easy it is to get stuck in overthinking. And trust me, I've been there plenty of times. So let me share a quick story about a time when fear had me completely frozen and the one decision that changed everything for me. I remember when I first started this coaching business, I had this vision, but every time I thought about putting myself out there, I froze. What if I fail? What if nobody cares? I kept planning and overthinking, but I wasn't moving. Then one day, I decided to just take one step, something small but meaningful. So I reached out to one potential client. I didn't have everything figured out, but that one action led to another. And guess what? I didn't die. I didn't fail. In fact, that first client led to more opportunities, and actually way more opportunities than I could have imagined. So here's some actionable steps for you. Identify the smallest action you can take today. Just one action. Then number two is set a timer for 10 minutes and take action immediately after this episode. Then number three, celebrate that step. No matter how small it is, it's important that you celebrate. Now here's some coaching questions or journaling prompts for you. What's one decision that you've been overthinking that you can act on today? How will you reward yourself for taking that step? What I learned from that experience that I just told you about is that fear never goes away, but your ability to move through it gets stronger every time you take action. And that's exactly what I want you to take away from today's episode. So let's do a quick recap of what we covered. Today, we talked about fear, what's really stopping you, how to reframe it, and how to move forward even when you're scared. The key takeaway: fear doesn't have to control you. When you understand it, reframe it, and take one small step, you start building momentum towards the life and business that you want. If this episode resonated with you, I'd love to help you take the next step. Click the link in the description to schedule a coaching session with me. Maybe that's a small step that you need to take today. And make sure that you sign up for my Unstoppable email community. And with that community, I send you one email a week and I give you more tools and more strategies that you can use. We go a little bit deeper in some other things. I really want to thank you for spending this time with me today. I know how powerful fear can feel, but I also know that you are more powerful. Until next time, keep finding your path.